Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. Massive drama in the North American Valorant scene as per usual. Some of the drama in the tier 1 scene got squashed overnight, but the tier 2 scene decided to come in and replace it. Roster chaos in the tier 2 side, Mad Lions making changes. Initially things seem to be relatively calm, but then it all kicks off, especially between Trick and Zexrow. It's an absolute madness. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. So we saw Marv versus FNS just yesterday, and they resolved their beef in, well, it's not really beef, obviously, they were just joking around, but, you know, Marv was like, oh yeah, put me in Sentinels to play NRG next week. FNS said this in the reply, and then Marv replies and says a few things back in business, and then eventually, you know, they kind of, well, squash it here. So FNS says, Pancada clears you, and then, you know, it's like, Sadak clears you, and, you know, I miss you, bro, you saved my life, I miss you too, cutie. And at the end of the day, it's all good. The other thing just to mention here as well was that these kind of screenshots were coming out last night. So we saw the other day that this barrel here added onto binds does indeed give you this angle over the top of the boxes into short. So this is what we discussed at the time. You guys though will immediately notice here that well, the ultimate is now up to 11, or was this 10 right on the Viper. 10 potential ultimate points. Now, I know that people saw this and thought, damn, are they potentially going to nerf the ultimate? Viper's ult is very strong, there's no doubt, but putting it to 10 ultimate, like, orb points or whatever, is quite the extent to take it to. Now, I don't think this is going to be the case, but, I mean, still, you can see the nice angle you get by stepping on top of this barrel, gives the CTs another alternative to hold, but yeah, 10 points for the ultimate. Now, Valor Leaks say that there's nothing to this, and I don't exactly know what was causing this, but, you know, Mike says, for anyone wondering, that 10 ultimate points is not a change that's going to be happening. But, you know, maybe something they're considering. If they are going to nerf Viper's ultimate, I wouldn't want to put it up to 10. I would just nerf it in other ways. Because I feel like that is probably taking things at least one step too far. But definitely tweet your thoughts on that one in the comment section below. The other story of yesterday was DSG's GameChangers team. They did get bodied a fair bite by Evil Geniuses, but they did win a series in fairness 2-0. So, pretty cool to see, of course, effectively a team of Tupperware and then 4 streamers type thing, but it was Kaido was playing and all this kind of good stuff. I believe they scrimmed Sentinels, was it, the other day? I think I saw a scrim set between Sentinels starting team with Zekan and co, and these girls on DSG. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. And honestly, what was good about this is there was a lot more exposure. Yes, this team isn't incredibly good. They're not going to be winning anything in my opinion, but you know, the way that they were able to, I mean, I think it had like almost 20,000 viewers before the series had even begun, and it's this guy's to say, really proud of the GameChangers team today. Very cool, we peaked at the same amount of viewers as GameChangers Grand Finals last year at 60,000 plus. Definitely a scene that is worth supporting, hoping investors and sponsors recognize the immense potential that is here. So really cool stuff. I feel like Toast has already kind of achieved his objective here, right? Because I think his intention was with signing this team. There's a lot of controversy about it because like GameChangers players wanted him to sign like a team of players with slightly more experience at their level than the players that he eventually signed. But fundamentally, this you know, created a lot more interest in the team, a lot more interest in the GameChangers side of things, and you know, bolster the viewership numbers massively. So I feel like he's just done a great thing, all things considered, on this one, in my opinion. The other story from Leaf is this one. Guys, 100 Thieves is winning Tokyo. So we know that teams tweet this out whenever they play a scrim set against a particularly good team and get bodied off the face of the earth. So, you know, Cloud9 say 100 Thieves is winning Tokyo, probably means they scrimmed 100T and got absolutely destroyed. Now, this would be pretty interesting if this was the case, because Cloud9, they were saying they're very good the other day after they beat Evil Geniuses. They're probably not that good, to be honest. Like Cloud9, I don't think their team is that good, but they played EG. So it is what it is, but 100 Thieves will have a difficult time qualifying for Tokyo anyway, because they lost to Sentinels in a close game. Getting top 3 in the Americas is going to be tough, given how good some of those South American teams, you know, Loud, Leviathan, etc. are right now. So it's going to be tricky to get top 3 and qualify for Tokyo, but if they can, then Leaf says they're basically the best team and they're going to do it. But of course, if 100 Thieves are this good, then how good are Sentinels? So we'll see how they fare in their match in a couple of days' time. Let's talk about the roster drama in the North American scene. I mean, this is absolutely crazy stuff. I thought, honestly, a lot of this would get deleted overnight, but there was only one tweet really that got deleted. We'll see in a second. So firstly, Leah from esports, like he's been removed from the team. This was clearly not exactly a mutual parting necessarily, but you know, seems relatively cordial. There's no crazy beef or anything going on here, but there certainly is some crazy beef going on in just a couple of seconds time. So the other day, Trick from Mad Lions said, unfortunately, Mad Lions and I have decided decided to part ways ahead of Split 2, announcement soon. This, of course, on April Fool's joke on the 1st of April, but it turns out Mad Lions most certainly were making some changes, even though Trick is not the man to go. So yesterday they confirmed Zexrow, right? Of course, former Fortnite player, and I mean, he's got like 300,000 followers or something on Twitter here, like, yeah, big name in that scene, came over to Valorant, was on this Mad Lions squad, made it up with these guys when they were like Dark Ratio, Dark Zero, whatever they were called for a time, and then they became Mad Lions, and, you know, fair play. So Zexrow is gone, effective today, we parted ways with him. They also part ways with Drone, so pretty surprising, but fundamentally the team was underperforming. They had a poor first split, 1-4, whatever it was. They didn't qualify for the playoffs, 1-4, 1-5, so they wanted to make a change, and this is what exactly that they've decided to do. So initially, Trick says the following: quick update regarding the roster. Both players were very good, but things just didn't work out, and I failed heavily as a leader, building an environment for success early on, and by the team caught on to my mistakes, I'd already affected the players to an extreme negative. Maybe should be an A, but, you know, whatever. The roster's core is defined by who you played 60% or more Challengers matches with, so now after Split 1 is over, they can change more than 3 of the 5 players, and he says, yeah, I'm really confident I can avoid making the same mistakes. Pretty interesting in a way that he admits that, you know, he made a lot of mistakes with how that roster is being formed and how he was managing some of the talent on his roster, but yet it's those players that have to go and bring in alternatives rather than potentially the other way around. So that's already a controversial one. And then he goes on to say, after admitting that making mistakes doesn't mean that you failed, you learn from them. If mistakes were deemed failures in a team, then the entire roster would be full of failures. And he basically says, you know, the coaching staff and himself, they believe in the progress that they can potentially make going forwards, and therefore they've stuck with Trick as the IGL for the team, and they're going to continue making moves elsewhere. So Trick says this, and I thought this is hilarious because clearly he had other opinions than what he tweets in this specific tweet here, but he didn't want to say them initially until Zexrow said one thing in the replies, and then all hell broke loose. So Trick says, always going to be the Fortnite GOAT, wish things could have worked out, but unfortunately they did not. Good luck to him, I know he's got what it takes. So, you know, you'd have thought maybe, alright, fair enough, whatever, they're making a change, Zexrow's going to go elsewhere, it is what it is. And then Zexrow replies with the following: yeah, I got dropped by Moonchopper and Trick Aim, so Moonchopper the coach for the team and Trick of course being the IGL, but that doesn't change the fact that Trick took over the roster and changed it completely after qualifying within 2 months and thinks he deserves a spot. So, you know, Zexrow not happy with getting benched, clearly reckons that Trick doesn't deserve a spot on the team and that he should instead have stayed. And this tweet, I mean, Trick comes out with this: screw it, bro, I've never been a fan of taking the high road anyways. If you don't bring anything to the team, argue with everyone every single round, have the worst comms of any pro player, and can't even win a single duel against anyone with hands, you aren't meant for challenges. So if you want me to be toxic back, here it is. So fantastic stuff. This is pure prime North American drama. Trick says, like a few minutes before, like, oh yeah, good teammate, it just wasn't working out, wish him the best in the future, to say that he's basically the worst player of all time. Like, he's, you know, awful teammate, awful aim, awful comms. So, you know, just hilarious stuff. So Zexrow, of course, is not just going to take this sitting down and says, I put up the highest stats every VCT and big tournament the last 2 years, and you deadass dropped me after 5 bad games after I was finally able to carry you to a VCT qual. And as Trick says, you're one of the best players I played with, but you turn into an egomaniac, referring to themselves in the third person and blaming everyone but yourself. And we'll see an example of this in a second. So Trick might be right on this, and I don't know what side I'm taking, to be honest. I feel like there's got to be mistakes on both sides in this story, as there usually is, especially in tier 2. But based on some of the reaction here, I feel like Trick might have a point that Zexrow, like, yeah, might not be as great a teammate as they might need to take themselves to the next level. And I mean, look, this thread was immense. I don't really want to look through. If you want to read through it, feel free to, because Zexrow is basically talking about how, like, you know, he had a bad split, despite the fact that Tricky reckons was by far the worst one out of us in the qualifiers. And Trick's like, look, you were lying for Twitter. And yeah, Tricks then were like, I can have a bad split, but if you have a bad split, then apparently, like, you know, that's fine for you, but it's not good for me, and all this type of stuff. And then he tweets this out. So in fairness, right, Trick did tweet this out, which then he deleted. I took Dark Zero from getting first rounded at 128 in the VTT to top 10 in NA, and made Dark Ratio myself with little to no help, and led them to the best free agent team in Valorant history. So what makes you feel like I have failed a team before? I've sent my teams on an upward path. And there was some controversy as to whether, like, you know, he's trying to take credit for a team that wasn't entirely his doing, how good they were necessarily. Were they actually the best free agent team anyway? Bit of a question mark there. And then Trick comes back with the receipts on Zexrow calling himself in the third person, where, like, they were having a debate, and Zexrow basically is like, yeah, I'm Zexrow, man, like, I don't care, I had a bad tourney, but I'm going to come back stronger and all this. And then it just keeps on going. So if you guys want to read through this, feel free, but it's an absolute madness. And then it ends out with this, when Zexrow says, 3/5 of the roster we called with said that, by the way, but I'm sure it was because I failed to improve on anything, but I don't know what you're going to get anyways. Everyone on the team knows you made the decisions, or at least influenced them extremely heavily, as you were the only one not getting trialed for. Interesting point as well. So, maybe Trick and the coach have a good relationship, and this is always going to happen. Fault probably on both sides, to be honest. And even Nismo comes in and says, no offense, bro, that's a big statement to make about being the best FA team in history, and, wasn't necessarily just your doing that they were that good. And I must admit, I'm surprised many of these tweets remained up, because, as Hayes says, anything and everything you say on social media is fair game for criticism. Making public beef will get you followers or clout, but at the expense of being labelled and judged by potentially future teams and teammates. On the bright side, people will forget this happened in a month, which is true, because things move fast, especially in the esports world. And even as Leaf says, to kind of close out the beef to a certain degree, you can take the player out of the Fortnite, but you can't take the Fortnite out of the player. So, what he's getting at is that Zexrow may be at fault for this one, but look, it's an absolute madness, let's be honest here. Classic tier 2 type shenanigans. But do you guys have an opinion? Do you guys have a side that you're going to take on this drama? But, tier 2 never fails to deliver. So, a couple of guys gone. There's trials coming up relatively soon. They'll find something new. But, where does Zexrow go next? What's going to happen here with Trick? And, people are certainly going to be keeping a closer eye going forward on this Mad Live, seeing how they fare after all this has hit the timeline over the past 12 or so hours. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.